some stories. I'm not going to out you.
Yeah,
but you shared a private story with
100%.
me during the draft process about Shedeur Sanders as to why a certain team that we all thought was going to take Shedeur didn't take Shedeur.
The way they have done Shedeur Sanders, we have never seen this done.
Elaborate. When you say the way they've done Shedeur, what part of this is Shedeur Sanders responsible for? Because collusion, NFL hates him. Sure. But if he was one of your kids, what part of this is Shedeur responsible for?
I don't think Shedeur is responsible for any of it, of how the NFL has treated him.
How is he supposed to go about it? Especially given the circumstances that I've said it publicly. I don't think the Cleveland Browns really want him to succeed.
Cleveland Browns firing head coach Kevin Stefanski makes it impossible to ignore how differently he treated Shedeur Sanders versus Dillon Gabriel, and the data proves it. Now look at the historical context. The typical worst season sits around 35% pressure. Even rare outliers are around 39%, but Sanders is at 46%. That is not normal bad O-line. That is historically...
You're watching another quarterback's career potentially derailed before it even starts, and this time the warning signs are impossible to ignore. A TikTok analyst just dropped a breakdown that has NFL scouts, draft experts, and Colorado fans in complete panic mode. The claim? Kevin Stefanski's offensive system in Cleveland could be the worst possible landing spot for Shedeur Sanders, and the reasons why should terrify every Buffalo supporter hoping to see their quarterback succeed at the next level.
Kevin Stefanski almost sounds proud of Shedeur. Go ahead and follow this page. I'm about to break something down. After most of the season where Stefanski seemed like he could not say Shedeur Sanders, even when Shedeur Sanders was playing, has actually said some things in a press conference that would make me think he likes Shedeur. Could this be possible? Check the clip.
Obviously, he wins, got to win. So that's great for the young man. Gets to beat Pittsburgh, gets to beat a division rival. So they're not going to be easy, not in this division. So proud of him for that. There's always things he can clean up. I thought we got a little unlucky on that first interception. We can certainly learn from the second one, and he will. But yeah, he continued to battle.
It's about time. At least Stefanski seems like he's willing to give the young quarterback a shot. But it is the other quote from Stefanski that really shocked me. Did you guys hear this? Kevin Stefanski recently said, quote, "I'm privileged to have this job." This question was asked to him at a presser when he was asked about his future regarding job security following 2 difficult seasons. Let me tell you, I don't care how nice Kevin Stefanski is to Shedeur from this point on, and I don't live in Cleveland. But let me tell y'all, get a new head coach. That's what I'm going to say. I watched sports my whole life, grew up watching sports with my dad and my brother. I've always loved sports. I used to really like Stephen A. before he went over to the dark side. But Kevin Stefanski, I don't know. He doesn't seem to be pro Cleveland. I don't know what his game is. I don't know what his end game is. And so if I'm the owner and I'm not sure that the coach is making personnel decisions that are going to help, I don't know how I'm feeling about that. Now, again, Haslam could have been in on this thing the whole time. It's just a mess in Cleveland. And I hope, to be honest, that Shedeur's agent finds him somewhere else where he's going to be nurtured, where he's going to be encouraged, and he can really grow and continue to develop. That's what I hope. All right, y'all, that's one to grow on. Let me know what you think. Peace. See you next time.
Let's talk about what makes a quarterback successful in the modern NFL. It's not just about arm talent anymore. It's about rhythm, timing, anticipation, and most importantly, an offensive system that puts you in position to make plays rather than survive plays. Shedeur Sanders has spent 2 years at Colorado mastering one particular style of football under Deion Sanders. He's learned to work from the pocket, trust his progressions, and deliver accurate passes to talented receivers in space. But here's the problem. Everything he's learned might become completely irrelevant if he ends up in Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski runs one of the most rigid offensive systems in professional football. It's a scheme that prioritizes run game efficiency, play action setups, and quarterback constraint. When Baker Mayfield was in Cleveland, we watched a confident, gunslinging quarterback who had just led his team to the playoffs completely lose his identity. Mayfield went from throwing 26 touchdowns and making dynamic plays to looking lost, hesitant, and unable to find any rhythm whatsoever. The common explanation was that Mayfield regressed or got injured, but the deeper truth is more disturbing. The system stripped away everything that made him effective. Here's what the TikTok analyst highlighted, and it's absolutely crucial to understand. Stefanski's offense operates on a specific timing structure that demands quarterbacks to throw to spots rather than receivers. It sounds like a minor distinction, but it fundamentally changes how a quarterback processes the game. Instead of reading a defense, identifying the open man, and delivering the ball based on what you see, you're throwing based on where the receiver should be according to the play design. For experienced quarterbacks who've run this system for years, it can work. For young quarterbacks trying to establish themselves, it's a development killer. Shedeur Sanders processes the game differently than what Stefanski's system requires. At Colorado, he's been trained to scan the field, find the mismatch, and attack it aggressively. He's comfortable extending plays when necessary, working through his progressions naturally, and trusting his eyes over the play call. This approach has made him one of the most productive quarterbacks in college football. He threw over 3,000 yards with an impressive touchdown-to-interception ratio, showing consistent decision-making and accuracy. But none of that matters if the system he enters doesn't allow him to play that way.
Because everything came out that Shedeur Sanders was not getting no first-team reps. A lot of people was calling, Kevin Stefanski was sabotaging Shedeur's chances in Cleveland. A lot of media personnel was talking about it, and a lot of people was going to bat for Kevin Stefanski, saying, this notion of Kevin Stefanski, he's not sabotaging Shedeur Sanders. And there's one Cleveland media personnel, and Tony Grossi, he was saying, y'all going too far. He's not sabotaging Shedeur. Shedeur's not ready. He's not an NFL quarterback. He thought that Dillon Gabriel was head and shoulders above Shedeur.
The analyst pointed out something that should concern every draft analyst. When quarterbacks enter systems that don't match their processing style, they don't just struggle temporarily, they develop bad habits that become nearly impossible to break. Baker Mayfield spent years trying to unlearn what Cleveland's system taught him. It wasn't until he got to Tampa Bay and worked under a completely different offensive philosophy that we saw flashes of the quarterback he used to be. But by then, the damage was done. His confidence was shattered, his timing was off, and teams had moved on from viewing him as a franchise quarterback. Now imagine Shedeur Sanders in that exact same situation. He enters the league with high expectations, elite college production, and the Sanders name carrying massive attention. Cleveland drafts him, plugs him into Stefanski's system, and immediately the conflict begins. The plays are called, the timing is set, but Shedeur's natural instincts tell him something different. He sees a receiver breaking open, but the play design says throw to the other side. He feels pressure coming, but the system demands he stays in the pocket and delivers on schedule. Week after week, his confidence erodes, his natural playmaking ability disappears, and suddenly the narrative becomes about him failing rather than the system failing him. What makes this especially frustrating is that we've seen this exact pattern play out multiple times in Cleveland. The Browns have cycled through numerous quarterbacks under Stefanski, and none of them have developed into consistent playmakers. Some will argue that's because Cleveland hasn't had elite quarterback talent, but that's missing the point entirely. Development isn't just about talent, it's about environment, coaching, and system fit. You can have all the physical tools in the world, but if you're constantly fighting against the structure you're placed in, you'll never reach your potential. The TikTok breakdown showed specific play examples from Cleveland's offense that illustrate the problem perfectly. They run extensive play action that requires the quarterback to execute long developing fakes while turning his back to the defense. For a rookie quarterback still adjusting to NFL speed, this creates chaos. By the time you finish the fake and turn around, the coverage has already rotated, the throwing windows have closed, and you're left either taking a sack or forcing a ball into tight coverage. Neither option helps a young quarterback build confidence or develop good habits. Contrast that with offenses designed for quarterback development. Look at what Mike McDaniel is doing in Miami, what Kyle Shanahan built in San Francisco, or what Ben Johnson created in Detroit. These systems prioritize getting the ball out quickly, creating easy throws, and building quarterback confidence through early success. They use motion to identify coverage, create natural throwing lanes, and allow quarterbacks to process the game at a manageable speed. Young quarterbacks in these systems show immediate improvement because they're not fighting the structure, they're thriving within it. Shedeur Sanders needs that kind of environment. He needs a system that values his ability to read defenses, rewards his accuracy, and puts him in position to make plays rather than avoid mistakes. Cleveland's offense does the opposite. It constrains quarterback freedom, demands robotic execution, and punishes natural playmaking instincts. For a quarterback who spent his entire career being encouraged to trust his eyes and make plays, entering that system would be like learning football all over again, except this time with NFL defenders and career stakes on the line. The broader issue here extends beyond just Shedeur Sanders. The NFL draft process often focuses entirely on matching talent to team needs without considering system fit. Teams with high draft picks typically have those picks because they're poorly run organizations with questionable coaching. They draft talented quarterbacks expecting them to fix organizational problems, but they never address whether their offensive system actually supports quarterback development. Cleveland is the perfect example. They've had high draft picks for years, selected multiple quarterbacks, and not one has developed into a franchise player under their current structure. What should terrify Colorado fans is that Cleveland absolutely could be in position to draft Shedeur. They have the roster pieces, the cap space, and the organizational desperation to sell themselves as a destination. They'll point to their offensive line, their running game, and their defensive talent. They'll promise Shedeur that he's the missing piece. But none of that changes the fundamental problem. The system doesn't develop quarterbacks, it restricts them. The Analyst's breakdown concluded with a warning that every prospect and their representation should take seriously. System fit matters more than team need. A quarterback drafted into the wrong offensive structure will struggle regardless of talent, and the damage done during those crucial developmental years can be permanent. Baker Mayfield's career trajectory proves this. Sam Darnold's journey through multiple systems proves this. The list of talented quarterbacks whose careers were stunted by poor system fit is extensive and depressing. For Shedeur Sanders specifically, the ideal landing spot would be a team running a modern, quarterback-friendly offense with a coaching staff committed to developing young players. Washington, Las Vegas, or even a trade scenario to a team like Tampa Bay would offer significantly better developmental environments. These organizations either have offensive-minded coaches or systems designed to maximize quarterback potential rather than constrain it. The tragedy would be watching another talented quarterback get drafted into a situation that sets him up to fail. Cleveland's system under Kevin Stefanski has shown no evidence of supporting young quarterback development. The structure is rigid, the execution demands are extreme, and the natural playmaking ability that makes quarterbacks special gets coached out of them. Shedeur Sanders deserves better than becoming another cautionary tale about wasted potential and poor organizational fit. This isn't about bashing Cleveland or questioning Stefanski's coaching ability in other areas. It's about acknowledging a fundamental truth. Not every system works for every quarterback, and forcing a mismatch benefits no one. Shedeur has the talent, work ethic, and mental makeup to succeed in the NFL, but success requires the right environment, and based on everything we've seen, Cleveland's current offensive structure represents the worst possible developmental situation for a quarterback with his skill set and processing style. The TikTok analyst revealed what scouts whisper privately, and Colorado fans should hope their quarterback ends up anywhere but there.